Hey guys, it's Jack. Let's talk the top 4 and who I think is going to take the crown. It's been a couple weeks since I uploaded. I'll talk about that at the end, as well as the 2 episodes that I missed. But of course, YouTube, I gotta keep up with the times, and it's just what I want to talk about right now, and this top 4 is just so amazing. I think each of them brings something so different to the table for both the show and just drag in general, so let's jump right into it. Also, was I at the finale and know a lot of the behind the scenes things that were going on? Do I know some of the results? Potentially, but we're going into this completely blind, no spoilers. Please no spoilers in the comments either. No one's gonna find out by watching this video, you'll find out on Friday. So let's start off with the most interesting one in my opinion, MIB the MVP, Mistress Isabelle Brooks. I feel like Mistress is one that's really hard to justify, but at the same time really easy for different reasons. She's hard to justify because if we're going off of straight wins, she has the least. She may have a better PPE than like Anitra or something, but frankly, I don't really care that much and the show doesn't care that much either. It seems like the show cares about track record in very narrow ways, basically based on how many wins you have, more so than like, oh, you get 8 points if you're high in a certain episode. So on that front, the argument for Mistress to win just isn't as strong. Now, don't get me wrong, she did extremely well on the competition at many iconic challenges. The only issue is where she did well, the other people in the top 4 also did really well too. Say whatever you want about her being robbed for wins, I do think that she could have won some of the challenges, but based on the context of the official wins, a lot of the time other people in the top 4 just did a little better than her in some of these challenges. If Drag Race were only the competition, I would not see Mistress winning, but where I do see her pulling ahead is in the entertainment factor that she brought. Between her and another person in the top 4, this whole season was dominated by how hilarious Mistress was. Her sense of humor is just so perfect for TV, and so many of the storylines of the season were attached to her in some way. Where a lot of the other queens seem to go in and out of favor with the edit, it seems like the whole time Mistress had the edit in her court in some way or another. It's really similar to Evie's storyline on season 11, where it seems like they can edit Mistress into a full-on villain, but every single action that could come off a little too harsh or a little too mean, it always has her justification or an explanation for why she did the thing. So for basically the whole season, you end up with a really three-dimensional look of what Mistress is all about. And I think it builds in a way that by the end of the competition, you have a really good idea of what Mistress is going to do in an episode. And when I can say that about a queen, I think that's a really good thing. When I see a queen like Lucy doing something that I know that Mistress wouldn't agree with, and the Mistress actively disagrees with her, I'm like, oh yeah, that's very in line with Mistress's character, and I know her super well based off of what they portrayed. And I really can't stress enough how important that is for a winner. Though other people did better in the competition and we got some more background knowledge for some people, specific character knowledge and personality was the most shown for Mistress, and that's such a good thing to carry into the finale. And when looking online, that's what seems to draw people in the most about Mistress and why they want her to win. It's always, she was great TV, the season wouldn't have been what it was without her, and she also did pretty great in the competition. I feel like people never really lead with the competition side of things because other people obviously did do better. But competition aside, when it comes to crowning a winner that we fell in love with on TV, Mistress just really fits that bill. We'll look back on the season with the moments that she made possible and how present she was in the edit, rather than the fact that she had the least wins out of everyone in the top 4. And also, crowning her would mean a win for old school drag, which is what she's been pushing all season long. She loves to mention that she's from Houston, her drag mom is a legend, and overall her performance skills are just so classic drag. It's really funny to me that what is refreshing on TV is actually what's classic, but I'm so glad that's what we got to see with a lot of what Mistress brought. Also, I'm extremely close to 70k, so please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you here. Up next, we have Luxx, Noir, London. I love Luxx, and I'll say it right now, she's not cocky, she's not arrogant, she is confident, and we need to acknowledge that. Like with Mistress, a lot of the narrative of the season was really tied to Luxx, especially in the second half. They mentioned that every single gate was tied to her in some way, and it just so happens that all of the gates were some of the most entertaining parts of the season. And overall, that just kind of goes for Luxx's whole character in general. It was just entertaining. I feel like the show constantly looked back to Luxx because they knew exactly what they were going to get with her, and that's both a positive and a negative. It's positive in the sense that when they needed her to do something, she was going to do that exact thing. She's going to drive that storyline in the exact way the producers want it because overall she just has a really fun personality to work with. They knew exactly what they were going to get and they kept coming back for more, and that served her well both on the storyline side of things and just in the competition in general. But I feel like that was her biggest detriment in some ways too. Where Mistress got a very nuanced portrayal on screen, it just didn't seem like it was the same for Luxx. A lot of the time the narrative would leave her perspective and she wouldn't end up with the best portrayal on screen. So where her personality was endlessly entertaining and very consistent, consistent. They use that consistent personality to both portray her positively and negatively, and I think overall that's what tripped up a lot of viewers. What's going for Luxx though is an amazing runway package, but more importantly, a really different love from RuPaul than the rest of the queens. By the last episode, it just truly seems like RuPaul wanted to adopt Luxx, like completely. Ru talks about wanting to have a kid very similar to Luxx, and how if every parent treated their kid like the way Luxx was treated, it would just be amazing. I think Ru in general just sees a lot of herself in Luxx and sees the potential that Luxx has to take over the world. And Luxx is just really giving that energy right back, paying homage to a lot of the greats and RuPaul herself. And that's something that I just respect about Luxx's run overall. She knew where to hit those beats to pay homage, and it got so many people to fall in love with her, Ru included. When it comes to strategy for the competition and wanting to do well, I feel like Luxx had the best grasp on it because she's been watching the show for so long. Even if she wasn't doing good one week, I feel like she was just constantly raking up these brownie points to keep them invested for what she had to bring to TV. If Luxx takes home the crown, I feel like a lot of fans may be a little upset, which is unfortunate. Personally, I would be happy if she did take the crown, and I feel like we would look back on the season with a fresh set of eyes and really respect Luxx's run. Sometimes it takes a person's win to really garner the appreciation that they should have had over the course of the season, and I could totally see this happening for Luxx, but we'll just have to wait and see. And up next we have Anitra, who seems to be the fan favorite, which isn't super surprising to me. Out of all the top 4, I was the most surprised to see Anitra here only because how they treated her for the first half of the season. She won the talent show because she was easily the best out of everyone, and it's probably the most iconic moment of the season, but after that, up to the Lollapalooza, Anitra is pretty absent from the season. To me, every time she was called safe, it was for a safe performance, but other queens who weren't even doing that well in the competition still had a lot more presence in the edit than Anitra. The first half of the season got me really worried for Anitra. Of course, I wanted her to make it because Filipino representation, yada yada yada. There were just so many signs that it was like a Widow Von Du situation where the queen was just dominating the entire episode and there was no shot that anyone else was gonna win. But after their first win, they weren't gonna get pushed in the competition and they were eventually just gonna get sent home. That was the unfortunate trajectory that I was predicting for Anitra up until the Lollapalooza. Out of all of the top 4, I feel like Anitra played into the show the least. And after seeing what happened to Spice post SmackDown, it really seemed like Anitra was making this choice just for herself rather than for any TV. People were basically saying, oh, the producers are paying off Anitra to save Spice here and Spice is gonna go so much further, but then the next week Spice just went home. It's a weird theory that people have that I don't agree with, but just looking back on Anitra's choice, it just comes off so insanely badass like I've been saying. I think this moment really signified that Anitra is here in the competition and is willing to take a lot of risks to show her talent. She's going to take on the tougher competitor because she has the talent to match and she wants to show it off as much as possible. And after the Lollapalooza, only the improv episode wasn't really praising Anitra in any way. She was high for the ball, won 2 episodes back to back, and even the episode that she was in the bottom 4, she gave a top 5 lip sync of all time. And though I do think she was the weakest in the top 4 video, I don't think that they were going to send anyone home, and the whole top 3 thing, I don't think that it was actually going to happen. If there's one way I could describe Anitra's run, it would be organic. At every turn, I feel like she exceeded the expectations that people built up for her. Every time I started to get a little worried, she would do something that fully got me back on board with her. And every action that she did was in line with the person that she is rather than just trying to make a TV moment. She had to continuously sell herself to the powers that be, and eventually they bought in and were full on Anitra. And where it left her is becoming a fan favorite and a good majority's pick to win the crown. If it happens, I would be so insanely happy, and I feel like a lot of other people would be too. The only thing that I think holds her back is the fact that she was the least present out of the top 4 in the edit for a lot of the season. But what I've noticed about the fans is that they seem to value the endgame a lot more, and Anitra was the best there. So that's why I think she's winning a lot of the polls and why I could easily see her taking home the crown. What can I say about Sasha Colby that has not already been said? It's like almost to the point where it's tired to even like acknowledge how amazing Sasha is or like write it off as, oh, it's Sasha Colby, because I feel like that's all people say. So let me give an actual in-depth justification. Competition wise, she has the best PPE, but more importantly, she has the most wins. Regardless of what you think about a couple of these wins, there's other challenges that could have gone to her too, so it kind of balances itself out. And regardless, her runway package only faltering in like one challenge, she just dominated the entire season. For the people who aren't full team Sasha, it's either because they are just so full team someone else, or they're just frustrated that it's so obvious that an amazing queen did amazing. I do understand people who are frustrated in a lot of ways. It's a competition setting, and having such an obvious frontrunner from the start do as well as expected, in some ways it lowers the stakes of the season. But at the same time, just watching someone who's this pillar of drag who's influenced so many people and is just a really amazing person, that in and of itself is really cool to see in a competition transition because I feel like we haven't seen it in a while. The thing that catches me up the most personally, this is off the record, I don't think this is going to hurt her chances in any way, is the fact that this whole season, it felt like they were so scared to say anything negative about her. There was barely anything negative to say about her, but sometimes I do like watching the hero's journey of seeing someone struggle and then coming through. I guess we got a little of that in episode 3, but even by the end of the episode, Sasha fully justified the name behind her. And for the rest of the season, that name stayed as impactful as it was walking in. I think the domination is really investing to watch because of the name that Sasha Colby has. I just wish there was the slightest more bit of an arc, but when you come in so fully realized, it's hard to really do anything except show how amazing you are. If Sasha wins the season, no one is going to be surprised. There may be some people who are upset, but in hindsight, I feel like everyone's just going to be happy about it. The constant praise over the course of the season is there for a reason, and though I do see some people getting tired of it now, I think in hindsight, watching the season back, it's going to be really amazing. I feel like I said amazing a lot in this video, I apologize. So that's basically it. I justified all 4 queens to win the season. I think that my actual pick is Sasha or Anitra. I don't know, I could see all 4 of them taking it, and I would be honestly really happy. Let me know your pick in the comments below. Please, again, no spoilers. Now let's pop back to the episodes I missed. The makeover is just the makeover. I don't really have a ton to say, and that's why I didn't really want to do a video on it. I predicted that Lucy was going home based off of the edit that she was getting, and I was correct. The storyline could have been done after the stand-up, but with it continuing into Wig Loose, I knew that it was just kind of curtains for Lucy, but she went out in glorious fashion, and I wouldn't want it any other way. The conversations that they had in the episode, the teachers that came in, I think it's a really great episode, just not a ton of things to say about it. As for the top 4 episode, again, like I said earlier, they were basically saying, oh, top three the whole time, but I knew that it wasn't going to happen. I don't think we'll ever get a top 3 again on the main show, and I'm fine with that. Top 5 is really pushing it, but top 4, I think it's perfect. The lip sync of this episode is really fun. The moment of Mistress punching Anitra, it's like ingrained in my brain right now. And as for the remix, blame it on the edit, I like it. I ranked all the remixes in the past, and I feel like this one settles in a good mid-tier. I come back for Sasha and Luxx's verses the most. I think all 4 of them are catchy in some way. Blame It on the Edit is a fine song. I just wish it was ASMR Lover, but hopefully next year. I think they wanted ASMR Lover for this year in some way, but I don't think the song was ready. They used it in the promo for the season, and I feel like it's the song that's being pushed the most, but because they used Catwalk for the runway and it wasn't the remix song, I feel like it's just trickling over into next year. And though the verses are good, but nothing really to write home about, I think the video is really cool. Something about that black and white filter really pulls the entire video together, and it just gives it this really cool presence. They all killed the performance, especially Sasha. Dear Lord, I could watch this on repeat. So yeah, the song is good, but the video is top notch, and I keep watching the video specifically. As where I've been, that's a question. Heidi? Question?
What?
Motivation has really been kicking my ass, and just school has kind of taken priority. I've been getting so many amazing opportunities to be in spaces that I've always wanted to be in. But I feel like maybe since January, imposter syndrome has really been kicking in, and it's just kind of killed a lot of my motivation to do things. And just kind of in general for my life, I really struggle with motivation and just burnout. And it sucks because I do love YouTube and it's all I want to do, but at the same time, my body just doesn't let me do that. There will be so many times where I get this motivation, I'm ready to write a script, I'm ready to sit down and record, and then I do so and I get this like nauseous feeling, but it's not nauseous. I just like have the urge to just fall out of my chair. I don't even know. It really sucks, but there are moments of clarity in there, and I feel like eventually it's all gonna work itself out. Either that or just therapy, whichever one I get to first. Don't worry about me, I'm all good. You will still see me, as I will see you in another video. That was a weird outro.